It was a quiet afternoon at Redwood High School, just another normal day. That was until the school's intercom system crackled to life with an unexpected announcement. Attention students and staff, we are now in a full lockdown. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Lock all doors, turn off the lights, and remain silent. The sudden change in atmosphere was palpable. Students in Mrs. Mitchell's history class froze, exchanging confused and nervous glances. Was this really happening? A few students snatched their phones to text their parents, but Mrs. Mitchell quickly shushed them, her face tense as she hurried to lock the door. One by one, they crouched in the farthest corner of the classroom, away from the door and windows. Some held their breath, listening intently for any sound in the hallway. The only thing they could hear was the faint hum of the school's ventilation system and the occasional rustling of someone shifting uncomfortably in the dimly lit room. For the first 10 minutes, it seemed like just another drill. But then, something changed. A sound. At first, it was so soft that no one really noticed. A faint, rhythmic tapping coming from the large classroom window. Tap, tap, tap. The students barely acknowledged it at first, thinking maybe it was the wind, a tree branch, or even a loose shutter. But the tapping didn't stop. In fact, it was growing louder. Tap, tap, tap. The entire room went still. Eyes darted toward the covered window. A few students whispered among themselves. Is someone out there? It's probably a bird, right? Mrs. Mitchell furrowed her brows, her lips pressed into a thin line. Slowly, cautiously, she moved toward the window, her footsteps nearly silent against the linoleum floor. She carefully lifted one of the blinds, just a sliver, to peek outside. Nothing. The empty parking lot stretched beyond the window, bathed in the dull, overcast light of the afternoon sun. No movement, no signs of life. The school grounds were eerily still. Yet, tap, tap, tap. The noise continued. A cold chill crept up Mrs. Mitchell's spine. Her instincts screamed at her. Something wasn't right. She whispered over her shoulder, telling the class to stay quiet. But curiosity got the better of Sarah, one of the students, sitting near the window. She leaned in, gripping the edge of the blinds, and ever so slowly pulled them down further. The moment she did, her breath hitched, her face drained of color. "Oh my God," she whispered, barely audible. Her classmates leaned in. "What? What do you see?" Sarah's hands trembled as she pointed at the window. There was nothing there. The lot outside was completely empty, but the tapping was still happening. Tap, tap, tap. Louder now. Closer. A sense of unease crawled through the room like a thick fog. Some students squeezed their eyes shut, refusing to look. Others had their hands over their mouths. Mrs. Mitchell took a step back. Her mind raced for a logical explanation, but she couldn't find one. Then, from the hallway outside, a different sound echoed through the silence. Clink, clink, clink. It sounded like metal scraping against the lockers, slow, deliberate, as if someone was dragging something heavy. The doorknob jiggled. The entire class tensed, their eyes wide with fear. Mrs. Mitchell grabbed the nearest heavy object, ready to defend her students, if needed. But then, the intercom crackled again. "The lockdown has been lifted. You may return to your normal activities." The door handle stopped moving. The tapping at the window ceased instantly. A heavy silence hung over the classroom. No one moved for a full 30 seconds, their hearts still pounding. Mrs. Mitchell was the first to act, cautiously unlocking the door and peering into the hallway. Nothing. The hallway was empty. When security reviewed the cameras later, they found no one outside the classroom. No figures in the hallway. No person near the window. Yet, the tapping had been real. To this day, no one knows what caused it. Was it a prank? A trick of the mind? Or something else entirely. Whatever it was, those who were in Mrs. Mitchell's classroom that day will never forget the feeling of being watched by something they couldn't see. Do you believe in the paranormal, or do you think there was a logical explanation for what happened? Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable during a school lockdown?